Tragedy in Walford as EastEnders legend decides to take their own life. Shortly after Nigel's surprise return to Walford over Christmas after 26 years away, it was revealed he had been diagnosed with young-onset dementia. Over the last few months, fans of the BBC soap have seen him finally open up to those closest to him about his condition, while his symptoms have also increased. However, forthcoming scenes will see Nigel begin to feel suffocated by Phil's overprotectiveness, and as Easter arrives in Walford next week, he takes up a request from Yolande Truman to appear as an Easter bunny, believing it will prove himself to Phil. All is going well until he confuses a young Hope Fowler with his stepdaughter Claire Bates, sparking an argument with Harvey Manor. After the altercation, Harvey, Jean Slater and Ian Beale question Phil on Nigel's well-being, and he finally reveals all about his dementia diagnosis. As Phil returns home, he then accidentally makes the worrying discovery that Nigel intends to end his own life if his memory continues to deteriorate. Actor Paul Bradley explains, "At Christmas, Nigel devised a test for himself so he could find out what condition he was in. He's composed a list of questions that he should know the answer to without any problems. When he does the test, it persuades him that he's further down the road than he hoped. Phil finds out that Nigel's plan is that rather than seek protective care, if he fails the test, he will take drastic action and end his own life." Paul continues, "Nigel wants to face the whole thing without burdening anyone, as he sees it. That was his whole approach from the start, and the reason he left his wife. He wants to keep his independence and be himself as far as he can be, because he knows the condition is going to make him lose parts of himself. So, Nigel makes this difficult decision because he believes, wrongly, that this will be better for his loved ones." Upon realizing what Nigel plans to do, Phil refuses to listen to his friend's explanation and leaves, triggered by his own recent suicide attempt earlier this year. "I think Phil feels betrayed," says Paul, "because in the Arches, when he considered taking his own life, Nigel told him not to do it because he was ill and needed Phil. Nigel's plea was part of the reason that Phil decided to go and get help. So, he feels betrayed and hurt." Phil then seeks advice from Linda Carter, and their conversation forces him to think about things differently. But when Phil returns home, he's horrified to find a goodbye letter from Nigel. Fortunately, Nigel is found after a desperate search, and he agrees to head back to number 55, where he breaks down explaining how he wants to end his life before the dementia takes hold. After Phil's attempts to dissuade him fail, Yolande gives him some food for thought, and Phil comes up with a plan to become Nigel's full-time carer. At first, Nigel doesn't want Phil to become his carer, but he's persuaded eventually. Paul reveals, "I think it's incredibly moving that Phil offers to do this, and Nigel is overwhelmed by it. Phil and Nigel are like the odd couple, but deep down, they love each other and want to take care of each other."
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của EastEnders Trailer TV. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn.